The Rangers. May I say,
Nope.
this might be a hot take. This might be my preseason World Series pick.
That is a hot take.
The Rangers?
I'm super in on the Rangers, dude.
I
Now,
hope
let me
you
explain
die
why.
in a fire.
I'm in too. Not back to the World Series high.
No, yeah, I think they're going to be
You can explain.
good. I don't think they're.
I'll explain. What is your beef with the Rangers as a Tigers fan?
They're disgusting, dude. They're gross.
Well, I mean, they're Scott. They're our little brother. I don't care. We fathered them, so they're nothing to me.
Good for you, dude.
Yeah,
they're lame. They are the most. I'm not kidding. The most egregious case of cheating maybe in the history of baseball 2 seasons ago. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Were you not praising Travis Jankowski like 2 hours ago?
Yeah, because they cheated. I can't wait. Seahawks get Cooper Kupp. I can't wait.
Did they really? That makes sense.
I cannot wait for 2040 when we have an ESPN 30 for 30 on the Rangers cheating scandal of 2023. It's going to be awesome, dude. Go look at the home and road splits of that entire fucking roster that season. It is disgusting. Like, actually disgusting.
So I'll speak on the Rangers. All right. My thing about the Rangers is as a baseball fan, as a fantasy baseball player as well, I'm a lover of guys that show up every day. Having Marcus Semien, regardless of what he puts up at the top of your lineup, Corey Seager, when healthy, he doesn't fall into that bin. But I look at this lineup 1 through 9. I'll ask the two of you: is there a better 1 through 9 in baseball than the Texas Rangers? I don't think there is.
It's pretty darn good.
I think it's the best lineup in ball. So I think we can go into the minutia of it, but let's for now just say we really like the lineup. I'm going to touch on the rotation. I think DeGrom has unfairly been tagged as a guy that's injury prone in the last couple of years, when in reality he was putting off Tommy John. It was not a myriad of injuries that was causing him to miss time. He was putting off Tommy John. And we can dive into whether or not that was a good idea and what he should have done, but at that point we're armchair quarterbacking it. To me, it is what it is at this point. He got Tommy John. He came back at the end of last year. He looked fucking phenomenal. I look at him in spring training. He looks absolutely phenomenal. And I understand they're going to try to maybe limit his innings to start the year. They're like starting him in the back end of the rotation and whatnot to give him some baked in extra off days to start the year. I need people to remember who Jacob deGrom is. It is the best pitcher ever. That is what Jacob deGrom is. The best white pitcher ever. That's what he is. I can't do Bob Gibson like that. He's the best Caucasian pitcher ever. That is what Jacob deGrom is. And I think that's actually, if I'm excluding just
Sandy
white people,
Koufax?
I think that's even easier. Say that again, Scott?
Sandy Koufax?
Yeah, dude, don't care. deGrom better. So that's how good he is. And I'm fully serious with this. I understand they're going to limit his innings so he's not going to throw like 200 or whatever. I am all the way bought in on deGrom throwing like 160 innings this year. I really am. There was a Jeff Passan article about, the last time he won Cy Young, he was averaging like 96 on his fastball. Up until he got TJ, and right before, he was averaging like 99 on his fastball. And so there's going to be a concerted effort for him to throw at a velo that is elite, but not a velo that will cause him to get injured. I think he just finally got the surgery that matters, and I think that he is absolutely locked in. When you look at the rest of this rotation, I look at Nathan Eovaldi, another wizard of the two Tommy Johns.
I love Nasty Nate, man.
I love Nathan Eovaldi. I think that he's another great example of that. I think John Gray will be a steady contributor. And I'll be honest, I don't know how secure Tyler Mahley's job is in the rotation. I think it's going to be Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, which for those of you that happen to be ball knowers, the last time Leiter and Rocker were in a rotation together, it was pretty fucking disgusting. So when I look at this,
I don't think you have to be like top tier ball knower to know that they both
You,
pitch at
you have to know a medium amount of ball to understand what Vandy was doing. So when I look at this rotation, if you tell me that
Understood.
Jack Leiter is your 4 starter, I'm in, dude. And when I look at this bullpen, Chris Martin is, he's well seasoned. That's the polite way to call somebody who's on the wrong side of 35. But he's a great reliever. I think Robert Garcia is super fucking valuable. There's a reason he got Nate Lowe as a return. Do I have questions about the low and medium leverage portion of the bullpen? Sure. But when you talk about a World Series pick and all that, I see an elite rotation. I see an elite lineup. And that's what the trade deadline is for, to help bolster maybe the middle innings of your bullpen. That's how I feel about the Rangers. Scott, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, the Rangers are, aside from terrorists, I mean, the Rangers are, I look at the Rangers through a lens of the rest of the AL West more than anything else. And
Okay.
last year was just really weird for them, and they had a lot of injuries to the pitching, and they had, honestly, a lot of injuries to their hitting too. They just were a what's that called? Ambulance.
Emergency medical service. You got that right.
Yeah, I know. I forgot the word.
Let him
ambulance.
cook.
So I think that in the context of the AL West, there is a chance that this team takes a step forward from what they were last year, assuming they stay healthy. And I genuinely don't know if anyone else in that division can go toe-to-toe with them roster-wise at full health. It's a very similar conversation to the Twins, where it's just like, but are you going to get that from some of their best players?
Scott, let me ask you, how many starts do you think Jacob deGrom makes?
20.
Okay.
Also
So this is where I'm bullish, because I really do think I'm forgetting exactly who it is. It might be somebody. It might be Nick Pollock at Pitcher List. Talks about the
follow.
That absolutely talks about the. I think he's the person that talks about the Tommy John honeymoon period, where once you go under the knife and fully recover, there's like a 2-year window where everything is tip top because it's been surgically repaired and all of that.
Right.
I think we're in that with DeGrom. And I think the intentional choice to have him start the year as he's their SP5 in name only. I think the intentional choice to have him, I'll be honest, I think in April and May, is he a 5 and dive guy? Absolutely. But I think when you get to those dog days of June, July, August, we're going to see DeGrom be DeGrom, where he's going 7, 8, and, he's going to have those starts that, make us feel like we're on the first date with the woman we end up marrying. That's how good he is. That's how he makes me feel when I watch him
I
pitch
agree.
at his best. So that to me is such an X factor. Like it's the best arm on the planet. It's the best arm on planet Earth. And he's finally healthy. And so when it comes down to it, I got to go with that. And that's kind of where I sit. I also think the Jake Burger acquisition, phenomenal. I think it's incredibly easy to just put him at first and maybe run just Josh Young and run Josh Young at third. I think it's fantastic. I'm a little surprised that the return for Nate Lau wasn't more than it was, but I don't know. I'm in on Texas. I'm in on Texas in a big way.
Yeah, like I said, I don't hate it when comparing to the rest of the division. I think there's just serious question marks about how many games they get from everybody, but that's not like high-end analysis. Like you could say that technically about any team. So I think
for guys like DeGrom and Seager, I think that's a fair.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, especially with kind of how wide open I think the American League is, yeah, man, Texas is a team that if they stay healthy, there's not too many rosters in the entire American League that can really go toe-to-toe with them.
Well, Scott, we're talking about elite lineups. Let's talk about the Seattle Mariners. How are you feeling about Victor Robles, leadoff hitter in the Big 2025?
I love their pitching.
You know what? That's what you say. That's what you say when a girl's not that pretty, but she's really nice. Could not be nicer to me. She's a total sweetheart. Love the pitching.
It's like what do you love the most about Seattle's offense? Their pitching.
Absolutely. Is it the best pitching staff in my lifetime? I think there's a conversation. Can you name a better one?
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
I think I can name maybe 3 consecutive years in Detroit that were nearly objectively better than what Seattle did. Yeah.
Can you name the 5 for me?
Verlander, Scherzer, 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
David Price, 2 years removed from Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
Anibal Sanchez, who won an ERA title that year, and then Rick Porcello 3 years before Cy Young.
Definitely a conversation. And maybe I'm early on what's going to end up happening with like a Logan Gilbert type, but I think you're fooling yourself if you don't think Logan Gilbert's got like a Cy Young in his bag. I think I think you're fair to say that Tigers rotation is in the conversation. Maybe it's a we'll see.
I'm not trying to it's the best
rotation.
rotation.
I know you're not slandering. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to I agree with you. It's like that's the only other counter I can possibly think of. Maybe like 2011 Phillies, but
sure.
What happened with those Phillies teams,
They got a ring out of it.
Not the death rotation of 2011, though.
No, true.
Chris Carpenter, playoff god. I love the Mariners, right? Anyone that's seen the Dorktown documentary, you are a Angels fan or you're a soulless bastard if you don't have a soft spot for the Seattle Mariners. It's Mitch Haniger in the Colossal 2025. It's Victor Robles in the Colossal 2025. It just like I love Ryan Bliss. I love a short king. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Ryan Bliss, but they're another team like the Pirates where it's like Jose Iglesias would have done this team a world of good to sign, and they just didn't do it. And that's my ultimate hang up with this ball club.
Yeah, dude. Offense, right? I mean, that is that.
I don't
that
think
is
Jose Iglesias is the best example for this team.
You could have put him in second base, and he would have been better than Ryan Bliss and Dylan Moore for sure.
Okay, understandable. Have a good day.
There you go.
It's just
I've heard enough.
Their man, their offense is, and like it got weirdly like better at one point, kind of in the second half, but like it's
because
still
Victor Robles magically OPS 850 for them.
It still wasn't like great. This team is pretty much completely reliant on how much offense they get. If they're even if they're a middle of the road offense, they're winning 86, and then depending on how much better than middle of the road they are than that can take them even higher and higher. I think there are a lot of teams in the American League that are praying they don't make the playoffs because while offense is obviously going to be a problem, the arms that they can throw at you in the postseason is honestly fucked up.
It's funny. They're also in the same category as the Royals and the Reds and the Pirates of is Julio Rodriguez Superman as Scott disappears.
That's fine. I also should mention that Riley Celeste is projected to make the team.
That's fucking disgusting, man. He really shouldn't.
Which also makes him their third best hitter. So
I'll wait for Scott. No, it doesn't. Third best? Get the fuck out of here.
I was exaggerating.
Not third best. Not even close.
Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Raleigh, Randy Rosarina, Luke Raley.
We'll keep going here. But
so sixth best. Okay.
Yeah. Like very clearly not top 3. Like Julio, Cal, and Randy.
I'm just exaggerating. That's what I was doing.
Peyton is someone else who's got a gooey spot for the Mariners. I want this team to make the playoffs. I want to see them make a run. They've got the pitching to make a run. They seem like a team that could also, I guess, be in the Lou Bob sweepstakes, and they could put him in the outfield. I wouldn't hate that. or at DH. I really wouldn't hate that, honestly. You could put Lubov in right, maybe. I wouldn't hate that. But they're a team to me that they have got to buy at the trade deadline from an offensive standpoint.
Well, you also have the Mariners spend money, which is.
Well, that's what I mean. By buying at the deadline, maybe you're not spending money because it's expiring deals and whatnot, but it just – here's the thing with the Mariners. I will say this. I am fully willing to buy into Luke Raley as a good strong side platoon. I think he did the job very well. I think combining him with Donovan Solano as a platoon at first, I think that's totally fine. You got Robles, you got him on a hot streak, and maybe he just likes being in Seattle. I like Victor Robles as an option. So I don't have a ton of worries about the outfield, but it's like, what is JP Crawford? Third base and second base is a question mark. Polanco's been good, but I don't know. I get the third base market is dry because you're primarily a Yankees fan, so you understand that. But I don't know. They seem like a team where if it were me, I'd be buying on like a Ryan McMahon at the deadline, and I would be buying on anyone with a pulse at second base. So honestly, you know what my real projection would be if I was Seattle? If I was Seattle, I would be buying in on like Brandon Lau and maybe like a Ryan McMahon. That's what I would be doing.
So the problem with your theory is that you're saying that at the deadline they should do this. What's stopping the Mariners from being like 20 wins in July? That's crazy. What if they're like 40-60 at the deadline?
They're not bad enough to do that.
Then what?
They're not bad enough to do that. It would take 3 starting pitchers getting Tommy John for me to believe they'd be 20 games under 500 at the deadline. I'm being fully serious.
Okay. 45 and 55 then.
I don't think they're that bad either. They're at worst going to be 5 games under 500 at the deadline.
Well, even
and
my
reason for using Ryan McMahon and Brandon Lau especially is the Rockies are asleep at the wheel, so you're probably fleecing in that deal, regardless. With Tampa, they just want to shed the money because they're even cheaper than Seattle is. So I think Brandon Lau is a worthwhile acquisition. So I think that there is a route in which you can acquire both of them where you are definitively not losing the trade. Financially, you're putting yourself in a massive hole, and you're not going to be in a position where you're like hamstrung and they're both like bad. Also, I'll be perfectly honest with you. If they're 20 games under 500, DePoto's making a move because he's fighting for his job. If you miss the playoffs after what you didn't, like, he's on the chopping block. If they are like, if they win under 80 games, he's getting fired.
Well, yes, but has he also been the type of? Is he the type of guy to do that? Is he that AG? Is he that?
He's the kind
much
of GM to make
like
a trade.
AG Prella?
Yes,
is he that much of an AG Prella clone?
Like,
yes, I know, but are they that much of a clone?
Yeah, I think they are. Because, like, what are we looking at? Like, give me 1 sec. Let me go payroll tracker for the Mariners. Who makes a lot of cash?
And the other thing is he going to be allowed to do that?
Who's making a lot of dough? Castillo doesn't get moved. You know what's really funny? Bias Opinion Hour would love the Cardinals to buy Castillo this offseason. If this year goes right and we're like about to be good again, would love him as a good like SP2, SP3. You're obviously not trading Julio. You're not fucking morons. Mutual option on Garver, that won't get picked up. Crawford 12 mil, no. Vesting for Jorge, no. Robles makes 5. Munoz 6 on a club. There's not enough money tied up where you go like, oh, we're hamstrung. Because if you're the Mariners, you could trade Andres Munoz in like 4 seconds and probably not blink. Because you're like, oh, we've got Carson Melinder who's going to shove 3.3 ERA with a 10 K9 out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. In terms of making
Yeah, I
the
get it.
money work, because Lau's got a club option for 2026, so you could just decline that if you're Seattle. You could get him as a rental, upgrade second base, and it's not a multi-year tie. McMahon, there's a real contract with it. Let me check it.
I think it's like 5 years left.
Yeah, but there's
because
there's like options tied into it. Bro, he makes 12 mil and then 16 for 2 after that. The Rockies have shown a willingness to eat money before. I'd be willing to bet they'd be open to doing that again. I don't know. If I'm the Mariners, they are a team that seems to be a peak we need to buy correctly at the deadline. That's what I think Dipoto's banking on, is I'm going to buy correctly at the deadline.
I don't think so. My only issue is, will he be allowed? Does he have that much freedom where he's going to be allowed to do that?
And honestly, I think that maybe that's a conversation that he has where it's like, listen, like if I'm not given the opportunity to do this, like you either got to let me go or I'm going to go somewhere else because there's only so much that I can do. I know he made there's a very infamous 54% comment that he made, but he got a lot of shit for that, but I'm pretty sure 54% win percentage is 86 wins a year. So I don't think that's out of the question and an unfair thing to say. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about Seattle. Let me hit the restroom real quick, and then we can talk about Oakland. I mean the Athletics, but Oakland. Worth noting. I think I'm going to go ahead and sort of magnanimously say that we're going to be referring to them as the Oakland Athletics intermittently, and no one is allowed to give a shit in the comments for it. Mainly because it's a fraudulent move by a cheap cowardice owner, and I care very little to call them a name that they're not even necessarily claiming themselves. Having said that, love the top half of this lineup going into 2025. I don't know about you. I'm a huge Lawrence Butler guy. Have been for a while. Brent Rooker, phenomenal internet follow. JJ Bleday has finally come through. Shea Langoliers, for those that don't know the nickname. Tyler Soderstrom. Even Zach Geloff, Jacob Wilson. I don't know. It's an intriguing lineup. How do you feel about it?
It's cool. It's cool. Getting room to have to.
It is cool. I think that's a fair, like, it's fair to just say, like, it's cool.
There's also I guess this brings up a whole different point, but how much is playing in a apparently very hot environment going for an entire summer going to do to said lineup? But it's a cool lineup. I think it really tails off at 8, which if it tails off at 8, then you're doing perfectly fine.
I'm sorry. So we're including Gio Urshela in the tails off at 8, or are we not?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless they start playing Miguel Andujar at third base again, which I would not advise. Anyway,
that's what I'm going to ask. That's kind of what I was joking about, because Andujar, the path for Andujar's playing time is tied into the two positions that I think are the most tenuous in their lineup.
I'm assuming he's ever playing third base again, so if that's one position, then.
Oh, I guess maybe not. But I was thinking third base, left field, and DH.
Yeah, well.
Because Rooker would just take left, you know? But I don't know. The biggest question with the A's roster is any starter going to ERA under 4? And is anyone in the bullpen going to ERA under 4.5 outside of Mason Miller? Because, like, we joked earlier about, like, oh, who are the White Sox going to get saves from? Ha, 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 ha. But, like, I swear to God, outside of Mason Miller and Jose Leclerc, I mean, TJ McFarland, 2021 Cardinals legend. We've got Michael Otanez, Tyler Ferguson, Grant Holman, Noah Murdoch, and Hogan Harris. And unless you're an OOTP sicko like myself, you haven't heard of a single one of those guys. So I just really struggle with where they're going to be more than a 75 they feel like a 75 win team. Like I say that being like, I don't know what their ceiling is going to be like, but I think that the floor of this team, like they're not losing more than 100. And I just feel like they're going to bang their way to like 74 wins. And it's going to feel, from an on-field product, it's not going to feel terrible. It's going to feel terrible because they're playing in a joke stadium and they've abandoned the place that loves them dearly, or at least used to.
They still probably do. Just from a distance.
I don't know, man. I'd be out personally. I guess A's fans sound off in the comments. If you're an Oakland Athletics fan, if you're an Oakland baseball fan, I don't know. You can root for my team. There's no way we're leaving. There's no way we're leaving. I don't know. Uniforms are pretty good.
St. Louis Browns come back. Anyway.
Hashtag expansion. Hashtag expand. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I feel like the A's, it's a short conversation. It's just they're going to hit well, and they're going to be an exciting watch on MLB Network on occasion because Lawrence Butler will be like 4 for 4 with 2 homers and 2 doubles. But in terms of them being anything more than they're bad but fun, I don't think they're anything more than that.
I think that's fair. I also will say, please respect Luis Severino, which also could change depending on. I mean,
I said ERA under 4. I think if he puts up like a 4.1, that's not with, I don't think that's slander to say I think he's going to be like a 4.1 ERA guy.
Which isn't what you want from A's, but.
No.
So, no slander.
They also legally had to spend money to not get in trouble. So, how much do they really like him? You know what I mean? Let's move on. Let's move on to the Houston Astros. This is an interesting team. Now, Peyton, I have made a note. We did spend about 10 minutes on the Astros before we started because I claimed that they're like an 85-win team. So, in fact, we don't really need to touch on it a ton because Scott, Drew, and I all kind of got our takes off. I'll say this. I think they're like an 85-win team. The outfield is miserable outside of Altuve, which is a technicality. I think the infield is solid.
Are they really going to do that?
Said what?
Are they really going to do that? Altuve in left field?
Yes. They have to. They have to. It's not a joke. They have to. Do you know what the alternative is that they run out Ben Gamel, Chas McCormick, and Jake Myers every day.
So are they just acting like Mauricio Dumont has never played outfield in his life?
He's going to play second base, or they're going to put Brendan Rodgers at second base, or Luis Guillorme. There's like a few different options they've got. Here's the thing. They've got a lot of ground ball pitchers, and Altuve's losing it defensively, so they'd rather hide him in left where his range is going to be incredibly limited because he doesn't have to have a lot of range, and they can have an elite defense on the infield. That's what they're trying to do. That's why they signed Walker. That's why they're trying to find a suitable second base replacement. That's why like Paredes is fine. They've got Pena at short. It's a very intentional sort of, that's what they're going for.
Yeah, just what I always hate is throwing around players in positions that they've either rarely played in the big leagues, much as professional baseball before, or just it's a brand new position.
I find it incredibly disrespectful to Altuve, but I'm also kind of a boomer. Like at a certain point, I'm like, I don't care what his negative defensive numbers are. Like part of Altuve's, I think, allure as a Hall of Fame candidate is the fact that he's a second baseman. Am I wrong?
Which, when it comes down to it, the voters will remember the second. Well, they'll first remember something else, but they'll remember that he was a second baseman his whole career.
Yeah, so, fair. I don't know, man. I look at this rotation. You got Arrighetti as the 4. I like Arrighetti. But Hayden Wesneski is the 5. Ooh, Ronel Blanco is the 3. Ooh, it's a lot of. We'll see. I think the bullpen has retained enough viability. Don't love that that they don't really have a guy like Forrest Whitley might be the 7th inning guy for this team. I think it's good enough. But earlier to what we talked about with the Cardinals, I think there's a reason that Nolan Arenado declined to trade to this team. It's a winning team, but it's not a deep playoff run team. And I think that's a fair thing to say about the Astros. I think that their floor is a winning baseball team, And I think that their ceiling is a difficult out in the DS. I think they'll give a team a good, hard 5-game series, but fall short. That's what I feel like their range of outcome is.
I would say the same thing if I also wasn't just personally terrified every single time I see them in my life.
You know what? That's fair. I haven't had to play the Astros in the playoffs in like 20 years. So I'll give you credence on that. Moving on from the Astros, the Halos. Scott's not even back yet to glaze Christian Moore. This team sucks. I don't care what anyone says. This team sucks, and it sucks eggs badly. I love Joe Adell. Joe Adell might be the single biggest disparity between eye test and actual good baseball player I have seen since I have followed baseball very intensely. I've never seen a baseball player who more looks the part but isn't. I really haven't. The pieces should all be there, but they're just not. And I understand that there's some injuries that they're dealing with. But I look at this lineup. It's not bad. Taylor Ward, Luis Rengifo, Mike Trout, Jorge Soler. I'm actually low-key in on Yoan Moncada. He had an interesting 2024. When healthy, Yoan Moncada was not a bad baseball player. It was 12 games. But even in the year before, in 2023, he managed to have a 720 OPS. He's about a league average hitter, a one more player. A bit of a soft spot for Yoan Moncada. Logan O'Hoppe, I love.
No, same.
Nolan Shanua, we'll see how it goes. I'm not moved. Joe Adell, I'm not moved. Zach Neto at shortstop to replace Kevin Newman after a month. I love Zach Neto. I love the Travis d'Arnaud signing, if anything, because that's really good trade bait. I think it's a really good signing to flip, and also just maybe he can teach some things to O'Hoppe. I will say we talked about Kevin Newman is currently penciled on roster resource as the opening day shortstop. I will never be able to quit Tim Anderson. I won't be able to do it. I know that he's got an 80 WRC plus in spring training. Even as a backup and a bench piece, I don't know. I like the player. I like the human being. So I don't know. I'm kind of pulling for TA to have a nice little month and maybe earn himself, along with JD Davis and Travis d'Arnaud and Mickey Moniak, a nice little – it's not a bad bench. It's weird to say, but if their bench by Memorial Day is d'Arnaud, JD Davis, Tim Anderson, Mickey Moniak, I'm not looking at that with my my fingers over my nostrils. I don't hate the bench. The question is they're just kind of relying on full health from a lineup perspective. How do you feel about the Angels?
Pretty much everything you said is pretty much what I agree with. Tim Anderson is a nice bounce back candidate at this point.
I agree.
I'm about to say Travis d'Arnaud is a bounce back candidate as if he's not just
kind of milk
yes.
Toast solid. Yeah.
Let
me ask you though, Peyton.
I just want to check.
Talk to me about this pitching real quick though. I'm not super
I'm not having fun looking at this.
Really? Other than Hendricks, I Kikuchi, Soriano, Anderson, Detmers is not a bad one.
And Detmers.
It's really Hendricks that sticks out. But from a bullpen standpoint, Kenley Jansen, Ben Joyce, Jose Quijada, Jose Suarez. I don't hate it.
Oh, you meant the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. I don't hate all of it. It's the Angels, so I know shit is going to go wrong, and I do not trust them from an organizational standpoint. I don't trust – I just do not trust Anaheim. I don't trust Anaheim from an organizational standpoint to account for this lack of depth loss. Because like I said, I think they'll get to a point where I won't hate the bench. I won't hate the bullpen. I like 1 through 4 in the rotation. But the issue is I know half of that won't be there. And when half of that isn't there, that's where I'm like, this is a 70-win baseball team.
We talking gels right now?
We are talking the Halos right now.
Have you mentioned the fact that
I'm sorry to interrupt, Scott. Quick PSA. Kyle Hendricks, until he retires, scares the piss out of me. Owns us. Perfectly willing to admit. Owns us beyond belief. Hope he rots in hell when it's all over. But, good for him for getting another year in the bigs. Can't wait
What's
for him
his
to retire.
nickname?
The Professor.
The Professor, is that one of him? Yeah.
Because he went to Dartmouth, yeah. Fucking
So,
I'm just pissed that they're taking away my Caden Dana innings.
yeah, Kyle Hendricks should not be getting legitimate innings in this rotation. It should be Caden Dana. I agree.
Yeah.
side note, Jose Calda full season, I will be watching.
Dude, Mike Trout's got one more in him.
Well,
Call me
I mean, the same thing, the same way that you talk about like how we feel about DeGrom is how I think most people feel about Trout too, where it's like just I want one more year, dude. Just give me one more. Give me one more healthy peak Mike Trout season that I can watch. Please, please, please. I love the gels, dude. I don't love the product they're going to put on the field this year.
Yeah,
I love
no one does.
And,
No one likes the product.
And, I think that this is a better team than maybe like the national media is making it out to be. I don't think that this is like one of the worst teams in baseball, which I think is kind of what they're being pegged as. I think that Joe Adell was actually pretty damn solid last season. I'm interested in how center field is going to work, but he took some major steps forward. Obviously, nowhere close to the prince that was promised, but like was absolutely a starting caliber corner outfielder by the end of the year last year.
Quick editor note: insert Joe Adell high school stats here.
So I think that like I like Neto, I like Ohapi. Like there is some young players there to like. Hopefully Trout can stay healthy. I don't know, man. Like I view this much closer to like a 75 win team than I do like a 65 win team, which is what I think a lot of people are kind of pegging them to be. I love the Kikuchi signing. I don't hate the rotation at all. Soriano in the bullpen's a dog. Like they
Soriano's going to start.
Well,
For us reference.
sure, yeah. We'll see. He's going to be a dog in the pen by May. I think that
They've got a good set. They've got a good 8-9.
about Jordan Hicks though. So
yeah. Ben Joyce, Kenley Jansen is a legitimate like. If they get to the 8th or the lead, like I feel confident.
Ben Joyce is awesome.
For those of you that don't know, Ben Joyce
slider,
has stated in an interview he thinks he can touch 107.
Yeah,
which like I'm not an Angels fan, so I don't give a fuck if he blows out his UCL. I want to see 107. Like I'm not a fan of the team, so I don't care. I want to see it. Like show me that that's physically possible.
Yeah, I like them. I don't think that obviously this isn't like a playoff team or anything, and they I don't even think there's any chance they go over 500. But I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that they get 5th in the West. I don't think that it's a guarantee that they're like a top 5 pick or anything like that. Some people I think maybe make them out to be too. They had like a weirdly aggressive offseason too. It wasn't like, I don't mean aggressive in terms of like dollars spent, but in terms of just moves made. Like I love the flyer on TA for them. Like I can't stand Tim Anderson, but like love them taking a flyer on him. Like that makes a ton of sense. Moncada, same thing. Like yeah,
Moncada, if healthy, is playing 150 games at third base. 100%. I thought it was a great deal.
100%. Yeah. So they had a lot of moves like that, man. They have a lot of smaller moves like that. I really like Neto. He can stay healthy. I don't know. This is kind of like where you can Like, I still am not going to project them to win more than like 74, 75 games, but everything I've said about them has been positive. Like, this is like one of those things where like it just depends on the context of the team. Like, I talked
the
about
context is so bad that
right.
a
Like,
good
I
season
talked
for
about
them is
how
winning 80 games.
Right. I talked about how I hated the Cubs and had them winning the NL Central. And then talked
Right.
about how I love the Angels. And I'm like, yeah, you know, they might win like 72. Like, you know, context obviously matters, but I think they're better than people think.
Well, it goes back to what we just talked about how I described the Cardinals 2024 season. Like, yeah, they were 4 games over 500, but it was a very soggy 83 and 79.
Yeah.
Like it felt like I was getting a colonoscopy every single game. And it was like, oh my God, we've done it again. We've pulled another rabbit out of our hat. I think that that's not the case with the Angels. They could win 75 games this year, and it's going to feel like a plucky 75 wins where it's like, man, like, yeah, like guys are real. I stand on, like, Brandon Marsh is a strong side platoon outfielder, and Logan O'Hoppe is an everyday catcher. Like, for all of the shit we can give the Angels front office and the various moves that they've made, the O'Hoppe for Marsh straight up gamble, I think, health permitting, for Logan O'Hoppe will pay off, because I think Brandon Marsh is just a strong side platoon guy. And so, you know, I get why the Phillies did it, and it makes sense for both teams, but I good on the Angels. Like, we talked about like the moves they made, a lot of low risk stuff, but I don't know. I've been a fan of the stuff that they've done in the last 12 months. I know that's not when the O'Hoppe move was made necessarily, but I don't know. I think in the last year or so, they've gotten a little bit wiser. The post-Ohtani Angels have been shockingly competent, which maybe we can comment on how we wish they'd been more competent when Ohtani was on the team. But, you know.
Yeah. And during Mike Trout's prime.
Mike Trout's still in his prime, dude. You watch him. Have you seen Mike Trout hit a baseball still? Like, he'll never not.
Have you seen Mike Trout play more than 60 games in the past 5 years?
Yeah, 2023.
That's an exaggeration, but
exactly. Mike Trout, 192 WRC plus right now, dude.
This
26% walk rate in spring. God, man. Like,
he's still like,
how funny is it that literally during
ever.
spring training, teams are like, we're not going to let you beat us. It's literally spring training, and they're not throwing him a baseball. I mean, goodness me, man.
It's like 19-year-old pitchers are just like, I don't want to give up a home run. Like, this is...
Dude, if I'm a 19-year-old pitcher, I'd almost rather give up. You're like, yeah, man, who's your first spring training home run you gave up? Mike Trout took me 480 left center, and I said thank you.
or you could be like that one guy on TikTok who struck out Mike Trout, and that's been his claim to fame for the last 15 years.
That would be mine too. I can't even blame him for that.
Yeah, exactly. If I struck out Mike Trout, I'd be telling my grandkids. Like,
look at us keeping the AL West to only 45 minutes. Scott, I know you said like, oh, it's not a shoe-in. I don't know. I like what the Athletics are doing a little bit more. I'll take Angels 5th, non-derogatory. Athletics 4th. I would say Astros 3rd, Mariners 2nd, Rangers 1st. The Astros can't just keep pissing away perennial all-stars and be fine. Eventually, you will have given up too many. And I think Kyle Tucker is that domino. Like, eventually, it's too much.
I still think they might have.
They're a winning team, but I think they're getting.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Like, they have, I think, the scariest hitter in baseball still. Like, it's like you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Jordan's not number 1 on my list.
Jordan is for scariest, not best.
Oh, scary?
Jordan is easily the most terrified I am over 162 games when he is in the box versus anybody else.
That's a fair point. That's fair. Scariest is a good word to use, yeah.
I'm gonna go A's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento, all that bullshit. I like
Oakland.
some.
I said we're dead naming for Oakland. It's fine.
Yeah, I love Lawrence Butler, but how much they give Severino? $60 million?
something like
That was-
that.
Yeah, it's
Wild.
like 363 for 64 or something.
Yeah. I still don't really like the pitching. Like some of the hitters that they've added over the last couple of years, though. I will go A's 5, Angels 4, Mariners 3, Astros 2, Rangers 1.
All right. So similar-ish.
Yeah, I would basically go the same thing, but I think it's Angels 5, Oakland 4, Mariners 3, Astros 2, Rangers 1.
Sure.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if the Astros just win the division again because
Yeah,
they just
same.
win the division somehow.
I pretty much said the same thing. But I have A's 5 unless Sacramento proves to just turn that ballpark into Coors Field West.
Yeah.
Then
really wish.
then it could be 3 for all I know, but 5 for now. Angels 4, Seattle 3, Astros 2, Rangers 1, and semi-hot take best record in the American League, Texas Rangers.
Nice.